Hello everyone, welcome to another video of UI UX designing, and for today's video I have chosen to design this particular hotel booking apps, and I'll be walking through every single step that I will take to design exactly like this. And of course I will be utilizing all the good practices that used by UI UX designers to craft this stunningly looking design. And before going to our project, I would like to thank this particular designer called Firman Jabbar from Vectora, who have actually made his particular design available for people like us to learn and get inspired. So without further ado, let's get started. And there you go, I have created a new Figma file here, and I have also gathered assets that we will be needing throughout this entire process of designing. So for example, we have already gathered icons here, and these are the icons that we will be using and in this entire process of designing. I also have actually gathered some stock images like this, a bunch of stock images of hotels like this, and that's it. That's all we need to actually get started with. So let's head back to our empty page here, and we can actually start by creating a frame here. For example, let's go to frame. Let's click on this frame tool here. Once you click on this, you are able to see that frame has been selected by default. And on your right hand side here, you will be able to see a lot of options of frame sizes. So in this case, we will be designing phone. So that's why I'll be choosing phones options. And specifically, I want to go for iPhone 14 Pro Max. And this is because this is the most modern. And yeah, that's the reason why I've chosen this. And the first thing is that, as you can see here, we have already made this particular frame. And the first thing, also you can actually start adding or layout grid here. For example, let's click add, and in order to make a better layout grid, let's click on this particular option, and instead of grid here, we can actually make columns so that we are able to align them properly. And we can actually give the gutter to become like around 50 should do. And there you go. Right now we have already put the gutter. Gutter is basically the spaces between this particular red lines here to make sure that you have placed all the items have a consistent container, something like this. And that's it. And that's the reason why we're using this layout grid here. We can actually turn on and turn off, and whenever we wanted it to be turned on. And the next thing is that I would like to add like an option button. For example, I would like to go to this shape tool here, and I like to shake the rectangular shape here, and I like to make a rectangular shape like this, something like this. And the next thing is that I like to make it a bit more smaller like this, and also I like to make the curve to become maximum. So I like to put the maximum size as you can go, for example 100. And I like to make the fill to become white, and I like to give some stroke, and this particular stroke I like to give around like 2, and this particular stroke's gonna be around like gray like this, and this particular gray will be not so much dark like this. And then I like to place it right here. As you can see here, I can actually reduce the size to actually make it look better like this. And of course we can actually reduce, instead of like changing the color, we can actually make this to be black, and can reduce the opacity by it to 10%. That should do. And inside here I would like to add some icons here. For example, let's go to icon. We like to use this particular first icon here. This is the location icon. So I like to go to my page here. I like to place it inside here. Okay, but I think there's a better practice that I can actually show you when you're placing a container, something inside a container. I like to place it. Let's go to here, and what I like to do here is that I like to make this as a frame. Okay, and I like to make it as an auto layout. And as you can see here, what I also like to do, I like to take this, I like to place it right here, and there you go. Right now you don't happen to see a rectangle here. The reason why, because it's like this particular frame will take the shape of our element inside here. So next thing is that I like to place some text here. So this text is going to be, and there you go. I like to use this particular text, and I can actually change the text font. For example, let's say I like to change to a different font like this, and I can actually change the thickness of the font like this, something like this. And I can actually like choose the size, the width of the size also is possible. And I like to take this text here, and I like to place it right beside this icon here. So as you can see here, this icon and this text is not aligned properly. So I like to click on this here. I like to make sure that they are aligned centered, something like this. And there you go. Right now you have actually aligned them properly. As you can see here, this particular, I like to give more space here. I like to give for here 25. There you go. So right now, as you can see here, we are able to control all the spaces padding all over the side here. The next thing I like to add is actually a drop down button also. Let's go to our icons here. I like to go look for a drop down icon, to copy this. I like to go back to my page, and I like to paste it right here. And there you go. Right now you happen to have a nice good looking card. I'd like to reduce the size of this, and of course I like to also reduce the gap in between, for example like 15. And there you go. Right now we've already done this properly. So what you can also do, I like to reduce the opacity of these three items. First, as you can see here, all these items are having opacity of 100. So I like to reduce to 50. This thing should be 50 also, and this one should be 50 also. And there you go. Right now we have already done the first button here. I like to place it here, something like this, around here. And we can check our layout grid here to make sure that we actually place it properly. Okay, so that it does not bother anything. Or you can actually like make it like this, make the gutter to become like this also, so that it only like covers this particular icon like this. And there you go. Right now we have already did the first part here. The next thing is like we would like to do is like we would like to add another button on our right hand side here, and that button is going to be a bell icon. Okay, let's go back to our page here, and I like to paste the bell icon here. Okay, but before that, let me just put it here first. Let's make a copy of this. I like to place it here. So in this case, I like to remove these unwanted layers. I like to replace this particular icon with this icon. I will remove this, and there you go. Right now, we will be having. I like to reduce the spaces to 10 around here, and then I like to reduce the size also. And there you go. I like to reduce opacity to 50% also. And there you go. Now we are able to bring this, and we are able to place it right here. But as you can see here, I would like to let me just hide this particular layout grid for a while. I would like to make this and this to become aligned to the center, and as you can see here, I like to make them into a group here. You can also make them with the auto layout. You can make it place at the center, and there you go. Right now they are actually placed perfectly at the center. And of course, let's check our layout grid here. As you can see here, your icon is not actually fitting the thing, so I like to place it to the center towards your right hand side like this. And there you go. Right now your icon is actually on the left hand side. And of course here I mean we don't want to have some spaces here, so we would like to use this particular option for spacing mode called space between, and then we can actually bring this to our left hand side, something like this. And there you go. Right now we have already completed our first row like this, by the way, and then we have already done the first one here. Let's move on to the next one. So the next thing I would like to do is to place some text right below here. So I like to take this text tool here. Let's just create a text box like this. And in this case, I like to place some text here. And there you go. This is sample text here. I would like to make the size to become increased. I like to increase the size of this text. Increase to 24. And as you can see here, I like to reduce the thickness for the first line here, to reduce it. Instead of extra bold here, I like to make it to medium. I like to reduce the fill to 50% like this. And there you go. Right now we have already done the text here. Also, let's make sure that we have placed exactly within the layout here. As you can see here, this is perfectly fitting the layout. And of course, let's make sure that we don't actually exceed the layout. And the next thing I like to do is like to place some search box here. I like to go back to my shape tool here. I like to draw a rectangular shape like this. And there you go. This is how we do. This is just some simple way to draw a rectangular shape. And this is, you can draw like this. And let's make the radius to be maximum around like 50. There you go. Right now we have just hit some basic corner radius. And the next thing I like to do, I like to place some icon here. So I like to grab this. I like to place it at here. I like to make the color to become a bit more lighter than this, something like this. Let's make it a bit more darker. Okay. Now right now let's add some icons here. I like to go back here. I like to take this icon. I like to place it inside here. And there you go. Place it right here. And I also would like to place some text here. I like to make this particular search box as a frame here, so that we are able to apply auto layout. And once you're able to apply this auto layout, we're able to take this and put it right here. And then there you go. Right now what you can also do, we can actually make the size to become increased. So like we can actually extend the size like this, and we can also extend the size on the y-axis as well. For example, in this case we only have 10 here, 15 like this. And I like to increase the size of this particular gap here, your padding here. And the next thing is I like to add some text here. And this text is just going to be saying, in this case I would like to say search hotel. And I have to reduce the thickness of this particular font from extra bold to medium. And I like to make the size to become 24 to 16. And I like to reduce the fill to 100% to 50%, something like this. I like to take this text here and I like to place it right here. And there you go. Right now, as you can see here, the size of the search box is actually increasing, which we don't want it to be like that. So what I like to do, I like to make this particular to be reduced to this particular size like this, and then we also we can actually make this to become fixed, the size, I mean the width of this particular search box to be fixed like this, and there you go. Once it has been fixed, we can actually make these two things as a group selection, auto layout, and we can actually add some space in between them, and there you go. Right now we have already did something like this. And let's also like to add like a filter option here. I like to add a circle shape here inside here, and it has to be white, something like this. I like to place it inside here, and as you can see here, this is the height is actually not fixed, so that's why we need to make sure that it is fixed. Also we are able to, yeah, we can actually make it like this. Okay, there you go. But then as you can see, it is like aligned to the top here, which we want it to align to the center like this. This thing should be place it here, so I like to make the particular spacing mode to space between, and like, yeah, as you can see here, this is actually does not supposed not to belong here, it's supposed to belong here. And the reason why it does not actually belong here, because of this particular right padding here, which I like to give around like 19 as well. As you can see here, now it's already been here. And the next thing is I like to reduce the size of it. I like to reduce the length of this, and there you go. Right now we have already done something like this. So let's make sure that we always need to fit this particular frame here. Just need to reduce the size like this, increase the size like this, and there you go. We can also make it a bit more taller, and there you go. Right now we have already done. So let's bring it to the top here. And what you can also do, we can add some shadow to this particular circle. We can also click on effects, and there you go. And let's reduce the position of this shadow a bit more to the top, around like 2. And I like to increase our blurriness to a bit higher, like around 15%. And of course, I'm going to be reducing the opacity to around like 5% should do. And as you can see here, now you're now able to see your shadow here. And inside this circle, I like to take this particular icon here with this particular sorting icon. I like to take this and I place it right inside here. So this is how we are able to make use of this. So we can just place it inside here, and yeah, and there you go. Right now we can actually make this size a bit more bigger, something like this, and there you go. Right now we have already happen to have our own search box here. Right now we can take it and you can just place it right here. And also let's make it align to the center. Always we are able to use these particular tools here, and there you go. Right now we have already completed the first three tools here. And the next thing is I like to add like a list of cards. So first of all, list of cards of hotels. So I like to create a frame here. For example, let's say I like to create a frame like this, and I like to make like a frame like this, and this frame should fit around like these two frames here. And so let's reduce it to be something like this also, and this particular frame should also be a bit more lighter like this. Okay, and I like to have this particular frame to have a good looking corner around like 10 should do. And of course, let me just take the stock images first. So in this case, I like to take this, and I like to go to page 1 here. I like to place it inside this frame. I just copy it. I like to reduce the size to fit that particular frame, and there you go. Right now we can just make the design to become like, yeah, you can reduce the size to fit this particular frame, something like this. And yeah, that's it, and there you go. Right now we have already happen to have a nice good looking frame of hotel card here. So the next thing I like to add is I like to add some overlay, from a gradient overlay. For example, let's say I like to take this shape tool. I like to go to and take some shape tool like this. Okay, and this shape tool I like to draw on top of this particular image, something like this. Okay, of course you just need to be placing on top of this particular frame, inside this particular frame, on top of this image like this here. And this particular rectangle one here will be let's go to fill, and I'm going to be making sure it's a linear, and I like to make this color to become black. And yeah, I like to make this to come at the bottom here, and so it should be at the top here like this, by the way. And this particular color here is not going to be any color, so it's going to be white, and it's going to be having 0 opacity, something like this, okay. So you need to make sure that we are able to see this particular gradient overlay just at the bottom like this, and there you go. Right now we only need to have this overlay, gradient overlay like this, by the way. As you can see here, this is how we are able to make that particular, and there you go. And we can place some text at the bottom of this particular frame here. Let's go take our text tool here. We can actually place some text on top of this card, on top of this image like this. And let's add some cards, let's add some text here. For example, I like to say some random words like Swiss hotel, something like this. And the reason why we are actually placing the gradient is to make sure that whenever when we place a white text here, it should complement the background so that it does not dissolve into that particular image, because that's how it works. And yeah, as you can see here right now, this particular linear is not actually very helping. Okay, let's all you do, just increase the height of this particular gradient overlay. And the next thing is I like to add like the price of this particular hotel like this. So in this case, I like to place like to copy and paste it like this, and right here I like to place the price, something like this. And there you go. And on the next thing also, I like to place some ratings for this particular hotel also. So I like to go back to my icons here. I like to grab some, yeah, just I like to grab this particular star icon, just one of them. I like to go back to my page. I like to place it right here. And this is too big. I like to reduce it a bit more smaller. I like to place it here, and I like to have some text also here, right, yeah, text here just to be here. And it's gonna, I like to give some rating of 4.8. And yeah, I like to make this aligned to right hand side like this, and I like to make the size to reduce a bit like this. And yeah, let's make the star to become closer to the 4.8, and let's make this two to become aligned to the center. Let's make it a group here, and we can actually make them an auto layout like this, and then we can align at the center like this. And there you go. Right now we have already done these two things, and the next thing is that let's make these two things as a group here, group selection. And then we can also make these two things to become group also like this, group selection. And we can also make them auto layout as well, so that we are able to control their spacing like this. And there you go. Right now we are already done. And yeah, that's it for this particular part. And we also can do is that this is a frame, by the way. This whole thing is actually a frame. Okay, can be maneuvered and something like that. And I like to make another copy of this and something like this. I can actually place it right here. And this particular frame here, I like to change. Yeah, before I like to change the image of hotel first. I like to pick this particular hotel here. I just chosen. Go back to my page one here. I like to reduce the size of this. I like to reduce. Yeah, I like to place at this particular hotel instead of this particular image. I like to place this particular hotel like this. And there you go. Right now we already have another hotel, and we won't be needing another the old image like this. And this particular hotel is a different hotel here, so I like to call it French hotel, something like that. Just some random words. Okay, something like that. Okay, there you go. Right now we have two cards like this. I like to take it and place it right here inside the particular frame. And there you go. Right now we happen to have two particular frames, and as you can see here, we can also make changes to this particular gradient, something like that. And yeah, I think that's all for this particular two cards here. And the next thing I like to add, like, it's going to be a list of hotels nearby here. So it's going to be another list of cards right below here. So it's going to be like going to be placing an image like this. For example, it's going to be an image. I like to just make a square thumbnail like this. You should fit like this. I like to give some color for a while, and like it's going to be a dark for a while, just to give some layout. And the next thing I like to have some text here. And this particular text is going to be just some random words. For example, I like to make the size to become thick. In this case, it's going to be I'm going to make use of extra bold. And right below here, I like to place another text here. And this text is meant to describe the address, something like this. And let's reduce the thickness. For example, let's go to medium, and let's reduce the color opacity to 50%. And there you go. Right now we already have these two texts here. And before, let me also need to have the price for these two also. I like to copy this, copy paste. I like to place it right. I like to paste it right here. In this case, I like to make the align to my right hand side. And this text is going to be describing the price. The price is going to be around like $300 again. And let's reduce the size like this. And there you go. Right now we're also going to be making sure that we also have another input, another display for rating like this. Let's make it like this. It's going to be aligned to my right hand side as well. And this is going to be pasted right here. Okay. And this is going to be just, I'm just going to say 4.8. And I like to reduce the size of this from like here. And I also like to get the same star icon here. I like to place it here as well. And of course, I'm going to be placing it right here. And there you go. And also I like to make these two things to one group. Okay, there you go. So also I like to make these two as one group also. I like to make these two as one group also. And the next thing, so I like to make these three things into one group. And of course, since it's one group, I can actually make them as an auto layout. I can actually center all of them at once. And next thing I like to do is I like to add this particular thumbnail here. For example, like to have some radius of 5, or you can actually give it more, like 15 should do. And there you go. Right now we are able to replace this particular frame here with some stock images. That I like to copy, I like to take this particular image here which I've just used, and I like to place it right inside here, and I can reduce the size to fit this particular frame. And there you go. Right now we have already done our first card here like this. Okay, there you go. And yeah, I think that's all you have to do. Just need to be making sure that we are able to make this into a list. Let's place it like this. Let's just can see here there's 2 lists here. I like to make this into a repeating group. This is frame 1, this is frame 2. I like to make them into one group, and I like to add to layout. Then I can actually reduce the size, this particular gap here to around like 20 should do. 20 to 2, and let's make, yeah, we can actually make a repeating group of this. You can just like copy and paste so that it just repeats as it is, so that you're able to take this and put it here, right inside here, and we can also make them align to the center like this. And the next thing is that we need to make sure that we also happen to have some bottom navigation bar, so that we are just take our shape tool here, or also you can take our frame tool here. Either way is perfectly fine. You can just place it like this. Okay. And of course, before that, let me just take this and put it here first. And this particular bottom navigation bar, we should be having some icons here. So I have to go back to my icons, and I have to take these 4 icons here. Take it, and I have to go to my page 1, I have to paste it inside here. And as you can see here, this is too small, by the way, to fit inside this font sizes. So I like to increase the size of all of them to 50. And of course, I can actually increase the width of every single one of them. For example, like 25, okay, something like this. And we can actually make them to be aligned to the center. We need to make sure that they are in one group. And once in one group, we can actually just align to the center. And the next thing is that we can actually align horizontally as well. And there you go. Right now we also can, as you can see here, we are able to add auto layout, and we can also increase the gap in between them like this. Okay, and we can also align to the center like this. And there you go. Right now what you can also do, we can just take this frame here, you can place it here. You can take the frame, and then we make sure we actually fill it in between them. Okay, and there you go. We need to make sure that this particular frame actually fits this particular font frame also as well. And there you go. Right now, as you can see here, we are able to see this particular bottom navigation bar to be having a seriously big size here. So let's reduce the size of every single one of them. Let's select all of them at once, and I can actually reduce them to around like 40 should do. And there you go. You can also make them to place the center like this, and you can also align them to align in the middle as well. And there you go. Right now they are actually perfectly aligned. And the next thing is I will add some shadows to indicate this is actually a different component. So I have to add effects here. I have to change the position of the shadow to the top here, and I have to increase the blurriness to 25% and reduce the opacity to 5%, something like this. And there you go. Right now we have already done our bottom navigation bar as well. And next thing is that we can also add some more items. For example, let's add some title to this list. For example, this list is actually a list of hotels nearby. So I like to place the titles here like this. So in this case, I like to place hotels nearby, something like this, so that you're able to indicate this list is meant for hotels nearby. So I like to go here like around 20, and also I can give even more bigger, like around like 24 should be fine. And let's reduce the size here, and let's make it in one group, by the way, and that's it. Okay, and we can also add some text on the other side here to show all the list. And you can actually place it right here as well, and you can actually align to the right hand side. We can say show all like this, and let's reduce this particular width here, and let's reduce this width also. And these two texts can be made into one group, and this group can also make it into auto layout, so that we're able to align perfectly. And there you go. Right now we also can make them into space between, and then so that we're able to fill everything. And let's change the size of this particular text here. As you can see here, this is only saying extra bold. I'll just give some medium here, and I also like to reduce the size to around like 50. But as you can see here, this is not aligned perfectly fine. What you can also do, we can actually add to the center, and there you go. So we can also reduce the opacity of this text here to 50%, and there you go. As you can see here, this has already been overlapped the bottom navigation bar. So I like to use bring to front, so that this particular navigation bar will overlap everything else. And last but not the least, we also need to have some, we must be able to filter between hotels, apartments and condo. So that's what I like to do here, right here. I will bring this to the bottom, a bit to the bottom. Also to this too, it should be a group as well. And I will bring this a bit to the bottom like this. And right on top of here, I would like to place some cards like this. Some simple like this cards here. Okay. This particular card will be auto layout as well. And but then I like to make this color to become a dark blue, and it's going to be having a up radius of 25. And I like to place some text inside here. And yeah, before that, let me just like to say hotels. I like to say white color, and I like to place it to the center. And I like to, yeah, before that, I need to make sure that this particular card is auto layout as well. As you can see here, I like to make this as a frame first, and I can actually add auto layout. You can grab this text here and I can place it inside here, and there you go. Right now, we actually can reduce the vertical padding also around like 5 should do, and there you go. Also, we can also add some other text. For example, this case is the first text. You just make a repetition of this particular groups here, and of course this is a repeating group, by the way. And the next thing is that we can actually make the others to not to become the same as the first one here. So I like to make the others to have a different color than the first one. So in this case I like to choose a light color like this, something like this, and I will replace the text, the color of text of all of this to become a dark gray like this. And last but not least, I would like to change the text here. For example, this is hotel, I will change to apartment. And as you can see here, this is not actually, this is fixed here. I like to make this to be to hug contents. So for example, like you can make like apartments. And yeah, before that I need to make sure that all of this actually, yeah, I need to delete all of them first. I like to select this two first. I like to make this two as a group first, group selection. And I like to make them as auto layout first so that they align to the center. And I like to reduce the padding here, vertical padding, to around like 5. And there you go. What you can also do is that we are able to make a repeating of this, copy paste like this. Yeah, as you can see here, we can just make a repetition of this. For example, this is the first thing is going to be apartments. The third one is going to be condo. So it actually fits the whole text here. And the last one is going to be called mansion, something like this. And we can actually reduce the size of this. And there you go. Right now we have already did this already. And we also can add one more into this particular list here. And there you go. Right now we can actually make this into one group. And we can actually place it a bit to the top here. And as you can see here, we have already also almost done the first page here. All you do just need to make sure that all of them are actually placed in properly. For example, this thing is the first group here, this is the second group here, this is the third group here, this is your fourth group here. And there you go. Right now all you do is just select all of them. Select all 4 groups, make them into one group, and you also can add some auto layout, and you can also like add some more spacing in between them. And yeah, you can also like make certain things to become in one group. So for example, like say I just choose this particular group and this particular group in one group here, so that I'll be able to change the size only of this two here. And there you go. Or we can also like reduce this particular gap here. As you can see, there's a huge gap in between. And there you go. Right now, I mean, yeah, there's one more thing that's left is this particular bottom navigation should be at the top here, being to the front as usual. And there you go. Right now we have already finished the first page here. Let me just remove the layout grid here. And there you go. Right now we have already finished the first page. Let's move on to the next page. So next, I would like to do my second page here, right beside the first screen here. The second screen here, I like to just make a copy of the first screen first. So once I just made a copy of it, I like to make sure that I don't actually mix them up. So I like to place it here. Okay, in my second screen right here, I like to, of course, remove everything first. For example, like I'm able to easily remove it like this. Nav bar here, but in this case we won't be using any nav bar here for this particular second screen here. We're just going to be placing it right here. What we'll be needing, of course, let's go and get this particular stock images again. So let's go back here and let's copy the first stock image here and I would like to paste it inside here. And there you go. Right now what I do, I like to increase the size of the particular image like this, and I like to place it at the center. Just need to use this particular tool to make things center. And there you go. Right now you're able to decrease and increase the size accordingly like this, and you can also like make it like this in this from this side also. So the next thing I like to do is that I like to add some overlay pop-up here on top of the particular image here. So I like to go and get my rectangular shape here. I like to place it like this. So I'll make sure that I place on it this particular pop-up overlay must be able to overlap this particular image. And what I like to also like to do, I like to increase the size, increase the corner radius. For example, I like to give around like 50. And there you go. Right now what I just did here, I like to make this looks like overlaying this particular pop-up here. So I like to make it a bit more smaller like this. And then right here I like to make this color to become gray. So in this case I like to go and make it light gray like this. For example, I like to give very light gray like this. And that's it. F5 triple times. Okay, there you go. Now you're able to have a nice good looking gray. And this particular gray is where we'll be. I like to make this particular shape here to become white color like this. This too must be contrast here. So I like to make this particular gray to become even more darker, just a bit more darker like this. And there you go. This is just enough. And next thing is that I place some info of this particular hotel I've just chosen. So I like to get my text tool here. I like to place the first text, which is the name of this particular hotel, and this is the name here. I can actually make the font to be a bit more bigger. If I use extra bold, yeah, I can also increase the size as well to actually make it looks bigger. Okay, I like to go to 20. I like to go around like 26 should do. Okay, yeah, I think let's add the hotel address as well. Example right here. Example here, I can just copy this particular address here. Just going to be pasting it right. Go to selecting. Just going to be pasting like this. And right below here, I like to make it a bit more to the bottom here. And of course, I like to add more description. For example, in this case, I have to say the London coming from England. Something like this. So all you have to do, just need to increase the size to fit a text box like this. And there you go. Right now the next thing is that I like to also place it a bit to my left hand side. And before that, before I forget, I need to make sure I place this particular layout grid here, so that always follow this particular layout grid here to make sure that we are always following the consistency. So I have to make this into a one group, and I'm going to place it to my left hand side, and there you go. Right now they are perfectly on this particular layout grid here, and there you go. Right now they are perfectly within the container. And the next thing is I like to add some ratings right below this particular text here. Let me just reduce the size a bit. Okay, I like to go and get my icons here. I like to get this particular icon, take everything. I like to paste it right below here. Yeah, right below here, by the way. Of course, I like to reduce this particular size to like this, so that it only fits this two grid here. And next thing also like to do is add some text right beside this particular star to indicate the rating, how much is the rating, which is around like 4.5, by the way, something like this. So 4.5. Make sure that they are actually, yeah, you need to make sure that they are in one group. Like you just need to indicate how many reviews are there. For example, I like to say around like reviews. This, and I go for here. Let's make it like this. And also I like to reduce the size so that it does not actually should be the same as the one here. So that we make the size to become lesser than, yeah, just around like 14 should do. And there you go. Right now all you have to do just to make sure that you're in the center. And there you go. Right now we have this. And yeah, instead of using bracket here, I can just use a dash here to indicate how many reviews have been placed. And also I can actually reduce opacity of this particular reviews here. For example, in this case it's already 50%. I put 25%, and this 4.5 should be even 100%, and this should be a bit more thicker than the reviews like this. And there you go. And there you go. Right now we have fully placed this. And also I like to place another icon here to make it like a call to action button. So I like to go to my icons here. I like to use this particular icon here. In this case it's going to be a location icon. I'll go here and I like to place it right here. Okay, but it's not going to be as it is. I like to take this particular icon that we have created before. I will copy this, and I like to place it right here, and I have to replace this icon with this icon like this, something like this, so that I'll be able to make a circle, a perfect circle, and this should be around like 50% also. And there you go. Right now we are able to place this and place it right inside our container like this. It's always like perfectly aligned to this particular text box here, so you need to make sure they are in one group. And you can also directly use auto layout, and of course the audio in the center. Now they are perfectly in the center. And as you can see here, when I pull this thing, you are able to fit this particular. You're not actually filling up the whole space here. There's still some gap in between. So what I do, I like to make it go to my spacing mode and space between, so that it actually touches the line here. And of course, we also need to make sure it also touches the line here as well. So they are perfectly touching both the containers. And there you go. Now they're perfectly aligned. And of course the next here is that I like to place some description. So I like to make a copy of this, just like to paste it right below here. And inside description I won't be needing any of this star rating here. I will remove the star. You won't be needing this icon, and of course I need to be making sure that they are just need to be placing this. Not remove this, by the way. I will just remove, I will just paste it, this two text box here, which is this, which is description and the title description, and of course the actual description like this. So place it a bit more bottom here, and I like to paste a sample description like this. And of course need to make sure that it does not actually have too many lines, so just I like to keep like 3 lines should do. Like I like to increase the size of this text box like this, and you should only fit about three lines and not more than that. So I like to remove the lines that are more than 3 lines, for example like this. Okay, from here I like to delete the rest of the lines like this, and I like to place read more. And in this case I like to bold this particular text, read more text here, to signify that you can actually click on it. And of course I need to change to a different color of percent like this, so that it makes it user to makes it actually clickable. And that's all. And right now we are able to move on to the next line, which where we can actually place some display images right here, display images of this particular hotel here. So I like to go to my icons, stock images, and I'm going to copy this particular image here. And I like to, before that I need to get some frame here. I like to place about like 4 images, 4 frames like this, something like this. And we're going to be making sure that we have some filling, we fill something like, for example, some gray color like this. And of course let's add some corner radius about like 10. And we're going to be having we're going to be taking this particular image here. Need to copy this, go to back. You just need to be pasting inside this particular frame. And of course let's make sure that we actually fit this particular image perfectly inside here. Okay, as you can see we happen to have this particular gray box here, so I'd like to make it a duplicate of this first, so that I must be able to make sure that I fill the whole space like this. Okay, so as you can see here, when you have 4 images here, we must be able to fit all of them in this particular container like this. And let's make it a bit more bigger. And as you can see here, now it's able to fit the whole space here. And this is the size that we will be using to make sure that it's actually exactly fits within the container, as well as actually has to be aligned properly. And now next thing is that you can actually remove the next thing here, all the string again, and you can actually place the image in, and we can just paste the image like this here, and we can just remove, decrease the size of this, reduce the size, and you can just like make sure that the image, the image perfectly in the center. And there you go. Right, and we can also increase the size to actually fit that particular image to be the one in the center like this. And there you go. Right, and we have already done this. And you can also, what you can also like do, if this image is actually blocking it, you can just lock the image, and you can just only focus on your image like this, something like this. And there you go. Right now we are able to make these two into a group, and then we can see add an auto layout, and you can just like double click on one of this and just can copy and paste like this, so that it perfectly fits the whole size. And there you go. Right now this is the best way you're able to make use of auto layout. And as you can see here, this is the space is 10 here, 11 here. You can also reduce to 10. And there you go. As you can see here, when you reduce to 10, you still have some gap here, which you won't want it to be like this. So what I do, I like to make it space between, so that it fits the whole space. And there you go. And that's it for this part of the row here. And also like to make sure that the last one here, when the user clicks on the last one, the user get to able to see more images. So I like to get my image here, rectangle shape here. I like to place it on top of. I like to place this image here, and also need to make sure that I actually place it inside here. And there you go. Right now it's within this side. I like to increase the size here. And before that, I can actually hide this particular. Layout grid here, just for a while here. And inside here I must be able to have some give some black color, and reduce opacity to around like 50%. And there you go. Inside 50% here, I like to add some text on top here, just to indicate that the user can actually click on this. Inside here I like to say like the number of images that you can be viewed, and +5 is basically just to allow user to actually just to, like, able to know how many images are there to actually to view more. And I like to make this to be a bit more thicker like this, fast splice, and okay, increase the size as well to 24. And there you go. Right now we already done this particular section here. Make sure it's a center, and there you go. Right now we also can what you can also do is that you can just place it a bit to the top here, and then we are done here. As you can see, this particular image is the text is too big because it's supposed not to be very big. I have to make it a bit like this, and I have to make this the gap to be a bit more smaller. And there you go. Right now we have already done this particular part. And next thing I have to do is that, as you can see here, these two sections actually like it's not actually filling up the space here. I have to move it to the side here, and same goes to this too. As you can see, it's not actually okay, now it's actually fitting perfectly in the box here. And last but not least, I like to have this inside in this particular area here. I must be able to have some other buttons as well. For example, I like to take this particular button here. Oh, as you can see here, this particular icon is too big. I like to reduce the size to around like, as you can see here, this particular icon is too big, so I like to reduce the size like this. And so as you can see here, I mean this particular image is not, I like to have this particular circle to be same, but only I like to reduce the size of this. But then as you can see here, when you reduce the size of the icon, this particular circle decreases as well, because we are actually making this particular size to be hub. So we just want to make sure it's fixed, and both of these are fixed with. So just like reduce the size like, and there you go. Right now we're able to make a copy of this, and I have to place it inside here. And of course I like to make it a bit more bigger. And this particular part I like to use a different icon here. Like, for example, I like to take this bookmark icon, go back to my page here. Instead of this icon, I like to place this bookmark icon in the center. And this bookmark will be having it's going to be a 50%. Okay, so this bookmark and going to be coming together with a button here. So I like to use shape tool like here, draw a rectangle here, and of course you need to make sure that the color of the should be consistent like how we have used it before. But we have not actually used any color before. I like to use a simple blue color should do, and a bit brighter. And as you can see here, I can also give some corner radius of 50% to make it maximum. And as you can see here, I can also make this as a auto layout here. So just need to make sure that I actually make this as a frame here, and I can add auto layout here. I can also like make it, I can add like a text here right inside here. For example, I can place a text inside here, so I can actually control the button size depending on the text here. For example, in this case, I'll just say center book now. So in this case, I like to make the text to be in the center, and then right now they actually perfectly fit in the center. And I also need to make sure that these two buttons are actually aligned properly. As you can see here, they are actually aligned properly. To make sure that they're filling this particular layout grid here. So we need to make sure where's the layout. Okay, as you can see here, they're not actually filling the layout grid yet. Let me just make them group yet. So to make it to, they actually overflow this. They actually fill the space here, including this here. And there you go. Right now we have already made these two but extra two buttons here. And there you go. Right now we have already completed the bottom section here. And the last but not least, we need to be having two more buttons here. One is the back button here, and one is the option button here. So I like to make use of this particular button here. Copy this button, and I like to go to my top here. I like to place it on top of here, and I like to place it right. Of course, I need to make sure that it does not go over the top here. And of course, I like to use a different icons. The style here, instead of white color here, I can actually make use of glass. I like to remove this particular stroke here. No more stroke. Inside here, I like to reduce the opacity of this particular circle to become around like 25. And with that 25, I can also add some effects here. Not shadow, by the way, background blur. And this background blur will be having around like 50%. Yeah, that should do. And I'll be using a different icon here. Let's go back to my icons. I like to use this particular icon here. Okay, I copy, and I'll go back and I will copy, paste it right here. Remove this, and there you go. Right now they are here. Now there's going to be a back. This is your back button here. Going to be reduce the size a bit more, including this, including the arrow, the size of the arrow, and there you go. And right now, I will have another button here on the other side, which I'll be pasting it right here as well. But in this case, I'm going to be using a different icon. For example, I will use this particular icon here, and I will go back to my first page here. Yeah, I'm going to be replacing this particular icon here, and I'm going to be removing this particular icon here. And there you go. Right now we've already completed. As you can see here, we are able to make. We are not actually making the glass morphism effect yet. So what I'll do, like to add some. We can control this particular background blur like this. For example, let's say if I were to go to 25, you can actually see some background blur, background detail here. Let's say if I go to 10 here, now as you can see more background detail here. This is how you're able to make use of it. And as you can see here, we can also reduce the size, the color to become even more lesser like this, so that you're able to see the detail of the back here. But I will just keep it to 25%. That should be do. And there you go. Right now we have already completed the second page here. Now let's go to the next page and let's complete the last page here. Alright, let's design the third page here. So of course I'll be just making a copy of this. For example, let's just be placing it right here. Okay, so the third page that we will be doing will be almost looks like a page where when we click on this particular image here, let's say if I were to click one of this particular image, and what happens after that will be the one that we will be designing next. So let's design that particular page, and let's say if I were to click on this particular image here, I must be over here. So I have to copy this image, and of course remove most of this particular. I won't be needing this. I won't be needing any of this, by the way. Just remove all of this, and I'll be removing this particular image as well. So what I like to do, I go to my stock images here. I like to get this particular image which I just copied, and I just like to paste it inside here. And to make it occupy the whole space, yeah, something like this. And of course you need to make sure it fits the height, okay, something like this. So what I like to do, like to my right hand side, okay, there you go. Right now we are able to use this particular part of the image here. And then of course, let's say if I were to we can actually also use this particular other two icons that we have did before. For example, these two icons here. So these two icons are going to be yeah, of course it's going to be having a back button here, but here we'll be replacing with a different icon here. So I'll go to my icons, click on this, and I have to copy this particular icons which I have not used before. This is more like a 360 icon. So I have to copy this to paste it inside here, something like this. So I have to remove the old icon and just fits inside this particular circle here. And let's make this size to be a bit more smaller. Okay, and there you go. Right now we have already done this particular part. And of course the last thing is we need to make sure that we put some text here. For example, I will say this particular text which says scanning, and I have to make this three particular elements to become aligned properly. So I have to click on auto layout, and then they already aligned to the center like this. And there you go. Right now we have already done this part of the row, by the way. And the next thing here, I like to have some reviews here. I like to place like going to be placing some reviews like this. For example, I will take this particular rectangular shape here. It's going to be making a simple rectangle like this so that it fits this particular image here. And the next thing I also like to do is that I would like to make this give some corner radius. For example, around like 5. As you can see here, 5 is too small, by the way, so I would like to increase a bit more. So I like to give around like 15, and there you go. Right now I also like to add some. I like to make this particular background color to become white. So for example, I have to choose this color. I like to reduce the opacity to around like 25%. As you can see here, we are able to see the background here. And I also like to make some effects. So I like to add some glassmorphism. So instead of shadow here, I'm not going to use shadow. I'll be using background blur like this. And you can also decide how much of blurriness that we would like to, whatever you want, something like this. And there you go. Right now the next thing is that we also need to have some stroke here. We'll add some stroke, and this stroke is going to be white. And there you go. Right now we have already done a simple glassmorphism UI here, and this inside here will be actually making the details of this particular review. For example, I like to have this particular image here. For example, I like just take this particular image which we have just did before. So I like to take this particular row here, and I like to go here and I like to paste it inside here. And before that, I like to also make this as a frame here, so that I'll be able to add auto layout here, and I can just place it this particular element inside here, so that it always fits inside the center. But as you can see here, it's not actually filling the gap here, which we should be always follow this particular grid here, and also here we should always follow this particular grid like this. Okay, so as you can see here, we need to make sure that this particular row should be filling up. And there you go. Right now we need to make sure that we always need to have maximum width of 372. For example, let's reduce the size like this. But as you can see here, it's not actually making anything. So what you can do here, you need to make sure that we must be able to reduce the size. And of course, let's make this to be fixed as well. And let's add this particular width which you have just copied, and you can just like leave it as it is, and you can just like take it and just put it inside here. Okay, so as you can see here, there is some gap here, which you also need to have some gap here. And but then this particular gap is too big, so we need to make sure that we have around like 350 like this. And there you go. Right now we have already done it. And we can also make this to become a bit more smaller than usual. For example, I can reduce the size, and also of course the stars should be a bit more bigger. Must have. Okay, and there you go. So right now I'd like to change the design of this particular card here. Instead of black color here, I'd like to have a white color texture. In this case, I'd like to say it's the main bedroom and some dummy text below here, something like this. And of course, you need to make sure it's white color. Okay, something like this. The size to become a bit more smaller. I'd like to give around like 13. And of course, I need to make the size to make the white to make it a bit more wider. And of course, I like to make it 12 by the way, so that it fits this particular container. And next thing I like to do is make this particular rating here to be right below this particular text here. So I like to remove this particular rating. I like to remove this. So instead of having it here, I like to have these two things to become a group like this. And of course, next we need to make sure it's an auto layout. So I like to add the ratings that we are not having it here. So I like to go to my icons here. I like to copy the stars here. I like to go back to my page, and right below inside this particular group we have just created, auto layer group, I like to paste the star like this. I like to reduce the size of the star, something like this. And as you can see here, we are able to make this to be a bit more brighter. For example, I like to give around like 3%, something like this. So this is how we are able to make it look like this. So, and there you go. Right now we already finished this particular part here. And also I like to make this image to become a bit more smaller. Something like this. So I like to reduce the size of this, and also make this particular image to be in the center. And there you go. Right now I've already finished this particular part. And the next thing is that we also need to make sure that we must be having a series of repeating of cards like this. For example, let's say if I have another card here, I like to have these two cards to become in one group, and I like to make it an auto layout. I like to make it align horizontally and something like this. And there you go. Right now we have already done it something. So I like to make it to be like to have another one here. As you can see here, we are able to make 3 cards here, for example, like this. And right now we are able to see that we are able to scroll in between them. And of course, let's bring it a bit to the top here. Okay, there you go. And yeah, as you can see here, right now it fits both the size here, except for this here because it's not actually out of the frame here. So we can also make it like, you can actually control the gap 12 from 12. You can only put 14. Okay, something like that, so that we always fits inside this particular frame. Okay, and there you go. And that's it for this particular part of this page. And let's go back to our main screen here. And as you can see here, we have already completed all 3 screens here. For example, this is the first screen here. This is where we are able to scroll between the pages, scroll between the hotels, by the way. And then once we click any one of the hotels, we are able to go to the second screen here. And then to view hotels interior, we are able to click on any one of this, and this will bring us to this third screen here. And of course, let's remove this particular layout grid here. I mean, we're not going to be removing, we're just going to be hiding it to make sure that it looks nice. So as you can see here, right now we have already completed the 3 screens that are required to build a simple hotel booking app like this. So that's it for me, and that's the end of this particular part of the video. Thanks for watching. Hope we are able to meet on the next one where I'll be walking through another designing tutorial. Thanks for watching.